Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to share my August wrap up with you. I was able to read so much more than I thought I was going to. I can't believe that I read 13 books. I mean, wow. Not as good as last month, but I was definitely not expecting to read 13 books. 4 of them were on the shorter side, but even with that, like, I read so much more than I was anticipating. But before we get started, I want to introduce you to my new baby back here. Her name is Ivy and I love her so much, and she'll be featured in the videos sometimes, so I just wanted to introduce her because she's so cute. But let's go ahead and jump into the August wrap up. The first book that I read this month is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I picked this as one of my book of the month picks because this is one of my most highly anticipated books of the year. I've read all of Riley Sager's published work now, Final Girls, The Last Time I Lied, and Lock Every Door. This is probably my second favorite. I gave this 3 stars because I got what I have come to expect from Riley Sager, and that is absolutely like terrific atmospheric writing. The dread just drips through every single page in this novel, but overall the story wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. Main character Jules like loses her job, finds her boyfriend cheating on her, and is looking to like start her life over. So when she finds this great ad to like house sit, she jumps at the chance. Plus it's really good money. She goes there. The building gives off these creepy vibes. So it's kind of like a gothic horror thriller book, but I don't know. It was missing something for me, and the ending wasn't as great as I thought it was. Like, the ending was just pretty straightforward. Once you started getting to the end, it wasn't like The Last Time I Lied, where like every page was a shock. And I don't know if I'm ever gonna love anything that he writes as much as The Last Time I Lied, but I did enjoy this. I know that I'm like in a minority because I know a lot of people loved this. So definitely check it out if you're interested in it. It just wasn't like my fave. Next up, I read something totally outside my comfort zone, and that is The Goose Girl by Shannon, Hale. I read this because it was Jordan's pick for the Paper Cut Book Club, and I wanted to like join in on the live chat because I watched the first live chat, but they read a book that I haven't read, and so I wanted to read their next book so I could like join in on the chat and like put out my 2 cents, and it's outside my comfort zone, so I figured why not. I typically like fairy tale retellings, but I haven't read any in a really long time, and I found that I don't like fantasy. I know that's like a weird thing to like retellings but not like fantasy, unless it's like really good. So I didn't really love this one as much as everybody else did. I rated it 3 stars. I think the club or the people in the live show were split. I think 2 really liked it and then 2 like didn't so much. I fell into the didn't so much category. It was magical, it was interesting. I loved that our main character could talk to animals, but the magic in here wasn't as explained, or it didn't go in depth as I wanted it to. I didn't feel that any characters really got a great character arc other than the main character, and considering there's so many other like prevalent in your face characters in this book, I know it's part of a series, so maybe we get more of that like when we go into different books, but I still think it should have had a little bit more in here. It's debatable whether it's middle grade or young adult. I would say it could be either or. So if you like middle grade, if you like young adult, you like fairy tale retellings, you will probably really like this, especially if you like fantasy as well. It just didn't really work for me, but I didn't expect it to because I don't typically read things like this. Okay, next up, I picked up A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. This I picked up when I was traveling to the Bahamas. This was like my airport read, and I finished it up like all in one day. So, I don't really know how I feel about this one. It was just kind of middle of the road for me. It is a very short book. It's only 116 pages, and it's basically this guy asks a girl out on a date, and she decides to say yes. They go out on this canoe on a lake like he borrows his uncle's canoe or something like that, and they go canoeing on this lake, and there's like 3 parts to the lake. So on the first part they're like, wow, this is so cool, let's go to the second part. They go to the second part and they're like, hey, what's over there? And they get to this third part, and in the third part of the lake they notice that there is this house under the water, and they decide to go exploring. Well, they can only hold their breath for so long, but the little bit of time that they're under, they're like, oh my goodness, we have to get gear, we have to come back, this is our special place. And they're just exploring this house underneath the lake. And the whole time I was expecting it to be spooky, I was expecting there to be like a twist or something, but it just read very straightforward to me, and I didn't find it all that scary. And then the ending came and I was just kind of like, huh. Next up, Ramos started, and I vlogged me reading all of these books, so I will have that linked in the cards for you and down below for you, so if you want like more of my in-depth thoughts. The first book that I picked up for Ramos was Matchmaking for Beginners by Maddie, Dawson, and still at the end of the month I am still thinking about this book. I'm still thinking about these characters. I am still thinking about the little brownstone in Brooklyn and everything that's going on there. I loved that it was heavy on characters, it was heavy on plot, there was a good balance of both, and I just thought it was really well written. The beginning was a little slow, and from the synopsis I just figured, I already had like an assumption in my head like how it would go, but I just loved it, and once it like picked up, it really picked up, and I just like couldn't put it down. And I don't know, I love this, and I would love to read more about these characters in like another book. I don't know if that's a thing. I would love for Blix to have her own book like before the events of this book. That would be really cool. And I would love a book after. So a kind of a book before and a book after. I'll take both, please. Thanks. I rated this 5 stars. And then I dove back into The Death of Mrs. Westaway, and this is another gothic thriller book that I read this month, and I rated it 3 stars. I have looked back at all of the books that I have read by Ruth Ware, and every single one has been 3 stars, and this is no exception. I really did like how the house became a character in the story. Maybe not as much as the Bartholomew and Lock Every Door, but it definitely became its own character, and I was just expecting a little bit something different than I got. A lady gets a letter saying that your grandmother has left you this inheritance, and even though she knows it's not her grandmother, she goes to the house to claim it anyway. But then once she gets there, she starts debating like, should she claim it, should she not? But then she finds like these things unraveling that she never thought she would, and she's starting to connect with people that are her family, and you know, things go from there. Yeah, it was just okay. So 3 stars. And I jumped back into Everything I Never Told You by Celeste, and at first this was going to be like a 3-star book, but the ending really did pick it up, and it's a fairly short book. It's under 300 pages. It's 292 pages. This is another book that I like took on vacation with me, and I don't know if it's because I read it so scattered. I read it like on vacation and not really like 100% concentrating on it, and then I put it down for a while, and then I decided to pick it up again. So I don't know if that had to do with like my reading experience, enjoyment of the actual novel, but this really, okay, so one of the daughters dies. She's found like in a lake or something like that, which is so strange to the family because she doesn't swim, but it's really not even about that. I mean, it is, and it ultimately, that's what kept me reading, is I wanted to find out like what happened and how she ended up there. But it's really an exploration of like family, and like everybody has their own story, and our stories interweave and all of that. And so it was a really good character study, a very good character driven story but the plot wasn't as much there as I wanted it to, but the writing, wonderful, like just great. Love Celestine's writing, so I'll definitely pick up other books by her in the future. This was her debut, and I have read Little Fires Everywhere, and I enjoyed that. I think I gave that 5 stars. So I will be continuing on with whatever she decides to write. I just liked Little Fires Everywhere a little bit more. Okay, next up, I saw on Bookstagram this Bookstagrammer made a poster for this book that, or short story that she's always loved, and it's called The Yellow Wallpaper, and it's written by Charlotte. On mine it says Charlotte Perkins Stetson, but I think the author goes by another name as well. I actually printed out the PDF. It's only like 10 pages. So I just read it in its PDF form, and it has a couple of illustrations. It has this one on the front. It has this one here, and then it has one on the back, which I won't show you. But this is a gothic horror short story that was written in 1892, and it deals with like mental illness, isolation, losing one's mind, just all of that, and it's very interesting, but it also has to deal with like miscarriage and things like that. But I have heard like on that post where the girl like made a like poster of her designed book cover, a lot of people were saying, oh my gosh, I remember this story. I'll never forget it, and it just sticks out in my mind forever and stuff like that. I had never heard of this, so I decided to read it. It was a quick read. It was okay. I left it unrated because it was so short, and I don't think I quite understood it. This is something that you need to like sit down and dissect with other people and like pull things out and look for themes and stuff like that. And I just obviously didn't look that deep into it. But if you have heard of this, it is like actually, there's paperback books of it you can buy on Amazon and things like that. I just saw this PDF for free online, so I just printed it out and read this. Then on Hoopla, I read volumes 1 and 2 of Fence. Rated the first volume 4 stars and the second volume 3 stars. These are sports comics dealing with fencing. We follow our main character. The first volume, it starts at like a tournament, and he faces off at this like really well-known fencer, and he loses like 15-0, and then he's going off to school, like this fencing school, like on scholarship, or he's trying to get the scholarship or something like that. And it's kind of like a competition to see who's actually going to be on the team or go to the championship. So they're kind of doing like a round robin, like everybody's going to fence everybody, and then they're going to come down to like a top 3. But it's really cool. It has a female character, it has male characters of color. It seems like there's different sexualities as well, although that's not written on the page yet, at least. I really like the art in this one. I do want to continue on, but I see myself picking this up either at my library or through Hoopla or some other form other than like purchasing actual copies. But I highly recommend it if you like sports, comics, graphic novels. Next up, I picked up Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. This is another one that I've heard nothing but good things about. However, I only rated it 3 stars. While I was reading it, I was really hoping that something shocking or interesting or twisting would happen. I did not get that from this. This is another one that I feel just was like kind of middle of the road. It was good. It wasn't bad. Nothing was like inherently wrong with it. It's again on the shorter side. It is 259 pages, and it's interesting because this woman is in a coma, and she tells you from the beginning that I'm in a coma, my husband doesn't love me anymore, sometimes I lie. Also, there are these diary entries. So you have her present day in a coma where she's still hearing everything that's going on in the room around her, but she's in a coma and she doesn't know how she got there. But then you're getting pieces from childhood in these diaries and you're trying to piece it all together. Very interesting, but just not like gripping towards the end like I needed it to be. And yesterday I managed to finish 3 books. The first one being A Madness So Discrete by Mindy McGinnis. This is the 3rd time I have read a book by Mindy McGinnis, and I rated it 3 stars. This is about our main character who, all you know at the beginning is that she's in this insane asylum and that she's pregnant, and that's basically how she ended up there. That she was sent there because she was pregnant, and they told everybody else that she's going on a vacation and that she would be back soon. So basically they're hoping that she has the baby and then she can come home. Well, while she's in the asylum, things happen. She ends up connecting. She ends up, like, the baby ends up, you know, she ends up having the baby or losing the baby. And she ends up hooking up with this doctor who takes her to a different insane asylum, and under the guise that they pretend like she died to her family, and really they kind of rescue her from this insane asylum and take her to this other one, and there she works with a doctor to help solve murders. The solving murders aspect of this reminded me a lot of that story, what is it? Hunting Jack the Ripper? Or is it Hunting Prince Dracula or something like that? The Jack the Ripper with Cressthorne, or what is his name? Cresswell. And the guy's name in this is, so it's Grace is the main character, and the doctor's name is Thorn Hollow or something like that. Yeah, Thorn Hollow. So Cresswell and Thorn Hollow, I don't know. Anyway, they solve these murders. I didn't love this. Like I said, it was okay. It had some good bits. It had some okay bits. It just, I wanted it to be darker, and it just wasn't darker. You think insane asylum and you think it's going to be dark and twisted, but I never got that. I mean, if it would have been darker, I would have liked it, because I liked the plot and the characters were okay. It just wasn't dark enough. It needed to be darker. So maybe if this was redone like for adults, I would have liked it more, but as a YA story, it just didn't work for me. And I read Planting Gardens and Grave Volume 2 by R.H. Sin. This is the 2nd volume in the Planting Gardens for Graves Poetry Collection series. I really liked this one, but not as much as I liked the first one. The first volume I rated 4 stars. This 2nd volume I rated 3 stars. I did pick out some favorites in here, such as Girl Sitting Alone, Torn Mentally, Of Anxiety, Numbed, Masters of Beasts, Love After Pain, Unlearning Toxic Love, Our Protest, Taking Away, Inhale, Exhale, and False Friendship. So I have like a handful of them dog-eared up here that I did enjoy. I think his poetry, at least in this series, is really about knowing your own worth and not settling for less than that, and that if you're in a toxic relationship, being okay with letting go and don't worry about being by yourself, because the right thing will come along and that you deserve so much more. That's like the theme throughout both of these collections that just like really stands out to me. Finished out the month strong by reading Raven by Cami Garcia. I am so excited about this graphic novel comic series by Cami Garcia. The first one is Raven. The second one, Beast Boy, does not come out until summer 2020. So like this time next year I can expect it, but I am definitely getting a copy because I'm just going to collect all of them because I really enjoyed this. I'm not a huge super fan of Teen Titan, but I do watch it. I have watched it for maybe the last, I don't know, 5 years, maybe 3 years religiously at night as I go to bed or on the weekends. I love the character of Raven, but I really don't know a lot about her backstory. And in this, we get a note from the author to the reader that says that she met Marv Wolfman, the co-creator of Raven and the other Teen Titans, and she asked him, was there anything specific that she should or shouldn't do? And he said to do what she wanted and to make the character her own. So I'm not sure how close the actual storyline, like the real storyline and like this storyline is, but my husband did tell me that Raven is like the daughter of like this really powerful demon, and that is actually a part of this story. In this story of the Raven, in the very beginning, it looks like she's going to be adopted by this lady, but they get into a car accident and the lady is killed, and Raven has amnesia, and then she goes to her aunt's house, the lady that was going to adopt her sister, and then her sister has a daughter named Max, and she's going to school and she's trying to figure out like, who am I, you know, and wants to know about our past. And she's an empath, which she doesn't really remember or she didn't know about. And then she learns what that is and how to control that. And she also hears this demon talking to her. And I don't know, it's just really cool. I love the color palette of this. It's just like grays and purples, and so it's like black and white with like purple washes and grays and stuff, and it's just so pretty. But then like every once in a while you'll get something, let me find something near the beginning I can show you. Get something really pretty like this. I don't know, I love the artwork a lot. Trying to find one that I could show you. There are like a couple pages that seem to have more color, but Gabriel Piclio, I think this is like his actual like debut, and first time graphic novel artist Gabriel Piclio. So definitely check out his Instagram page, because not only does he have like drawings of the upcoming Beast Boy, but he also has a highlight on his Instagram that's playlists, and he has playlists for Raven and he has playlists for Beast Boy. And then at the end of this one, it does give you a sneak peek into Beast Boy, and I read this as well, and I'm just so excited, you guys. I mean, look at it. So if you like Teen Titans and you haven't picked this up, I highly recommend you pick it up. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I read it yesterday, so I ended the month strong. But those are the books that I read in August. Like I said, definitely a lot more than I was anticipating. Let me know your reading plans for September, and I just hope you're all having a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye!